I am Marcus James Dixon, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Joseph Litzinger, producer of Life Below Zero on Nat Geo. And Life Below Zero, it's been airing for 15 seasons, over 8 or 9 years. And when you started the show, all of those years ago, did you have any idea it would still be going strong nearly a decade later?
No, no, definitely not. At the time, I was sort of going from show to show like we all do in freelance. And, I think I had just gotten off a show in Boston, and before that, Dominican Republic. And someone was like, "Oh, do you want to work on a show about people in Alaska?" And I was like, "Sure." But quickly, though, as we were filming and sort of working with the companies, this magical combination of BBC and National Geographic, it really felt like there was something special there. At least making it, you never know if the audience is going to respond or what the ratings will be. But 10 years, 300 episodes, no way I could have predicted that.
And, it seems like every year the show wins another Emmy Award. I see one behind you. It's a 5-time.
What's that doing there?
You've won for cinematography, for picture editing. And what does all that recognition and acclaim mean to you guys who work on the show day in and day out?
We're not going to lie. Obviously, it's nice to win awards and to get recognized. I think the beauty of the cinematography and the editing awards is that it's a recognition from your peers, and that the voters who vote on cinematography are fellow cinematographers, and the voters who vote on editing are fellow editors. I think we all try to do the best job that we can do with or without awards, but it is nice to be recognized, of course.
Mm. And one of the episodes you're spotlighting this year to the judges is called The Other Side. It was halfway through the season, and that was the really emotional one where the guy goes to burn down the cabin that his brother died in all those years ago. And it ended with this really emotional moment of the fire, the contrast of the fire with the snow in the background. What is it about that episode that's so special to you guys?
Yeah, like I said, his name is Rico. He's been on our show now for about 3 or 4 years. I think for me and for us and the team, what made that episode stand out was what you're describing, is that emotional vulnerability that you have. It's sort of, at least for us, was something you don't see every day in a reality show or even a documentary. And someone like Rico, who really, that comes from him trusting us to be emotionally vulnerable like that, to take us out there, to be in that moment, and to really learn about him and learn about the human condition. I know that sounds like, I don't know, like a lot, but it really is sort of transcending the form in those couple minutes of really making something special. And I think the biggest reason, of course, kudos to the crew out there and the editing team, but for Rico sharing such an emotional moment with us really made that special.
Mm. And I watch a ton of reality shows, and usually the people being featured are not actually in danger of dying grisly deaths on camera. But with Life Below Zero, you have, frostbite, animal attacks potentially, the elements. And in one episode, Chip's brother broke his wrist and had to be flown to a hospital. What are these scary moments like for you guys watching, from the production standpoint?
Well, the way that the show works is we send a crew of 4 people out there in the field. So the scary moments for me mostly are calls in the middle of the night from a sat phone where I can barely hear what someone's saying there's injury and what that means. But over the years, we've learned that is part of the nature of living and working remotely off the grid. And I think it's part of what makes the show that people respond to, is that there is that raw and authentic danger that is there. A lot of shows, there's a protagonist and antagonist, and I think in Life Below Zero, Alaska is sort of the enemy and it's surviving the onslaught of Alaska. But it's one element of danger, of course, for the cast, but really for me as the showrunner and for the team and for the corporation, the hardest and most scary thing is the crew, because everything that you see Rico do and everything that you see, the Hailstones or any of the cast do, obviously there's the camera crew right there with them, and those moments are, I think, just are the most scary. But we're fortunate that we one of our 4 people out there is a safety coordinator, and we feel pretty confident in over the years. Some of our crew have climbed Mount Everest, and it takes definitely a unique breed of person to go out there and film in these elements.
Could you ever do it? Could you ever live in the elements? Some of them don't have power or electricity. I don't think I could do it. I mean, I need my Candy Crush, right?
People always joke, because I go to Alaska pretty often. Well, at least before the pandemic, I was going about once a month, and they're asking about the conditions. And for me, it's like, oh, I'm in the Marriott in Anchorage. I'm doing okay when I go visit. But no, I couldn't. I think there is something aspirational about that. I have a wife and a 2-year-old, so I think I can't imagine living off the grid with the 2-year-old. But there is something romantic about thinking of that lifestyle, and I think also that's one of the things that viewers respond to. But I enjoy bathrooms and electricity.
Yeah. One of the highlights of the season was seeing Sue make her own hot tub from scratch. And then up until the last minute, I'm like, I don't know if this hot tub's actually going to work. And she gets in and you see the steam and moments of lightness and levity like that. How important are they when you're dealing with the show about, such dramatic, elements working against them?
Very, very important. And I think that's one of the aspects that we try to show as well, is not just the surviving in Alaska, but the thriving in Alaska. That if it was 24 hours of danger and death, I think people would burn out and not want to live there. But in contrast to that danger and death, there is those light moments and moments of beauty and magic and the Northern Lights and these awe-inspiring moments, which include sitting in a homemade hot tub in the middle of nowhere, enjoying life.
So you mentioned that there were about 4 crew members for each of the cast members. Do you film, how does the structure work? Do you film one kind of character throughout the season and then just intercut their scenes throughout the season?
We try to get most of what you see in an episode at the same time, primarily so that the weather matches. But Alaska is so large that, it could be -40 in one part and 10, a nice warm 10 degrees in the other. But there is such a drastic difference in between each locations. We try to film them at the same time. Typically, like I mentioned, there are 4 crew members who go out, a producer, a cinematographer, an assistant camera, and a safety coordinator. And those teams will typically be with a cast member for about 2 to 3 weeks at a time. We found that was sort of the sweet spot into how long crews can tolerate these conditions. That said, during the pandemic and for safety reasons, once we got out there, we were out in some of these places for 4 months at a time, which that I know I could not do.
Yeah. And when you look back at all 15 seasons, 10 years of the show, is there one episode or one moment that you're really proud of when you look back at that, you just think, wow, I can't believe we pulled that off?
Maybe this sounds like a cop-out answer, but there is not a specific moment. I do get to occasionally, all I do all day is watch rough cuts of various Life Below Zeros or deal with issues in the field or or the staffing needs. But every once in a while, I'll just turn on the TV and I'll watch a random episode of the show. Maybe we filmed it, last year or 6 years ago, and really just sit back and kind of enjoy it. And this, it sounds kind of silly, but to be able to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a pretty good show. I really like this show, and I'm super proud of everyone who works on it, and super proud of the teams and the 40-something people it takes to make this show. And sometimes it's I forget that in the day-to-day when we're doing Zooms or meetings or budgets. But I think I'm most proud of the show itself and all the people who worked on it.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure you will be another contender at this year's Emmy Awards, as you are every year. Congratulations on that. And stick with us. We're going to do a group panel in just a few minutes here.